Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Monday, yeah, bo. It is a start to a new week. Let's get going here on Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show. My name is Sikhle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty. Remember, if you love the show, then do me a favor, hit that like button right now. That's right, smash that like button whether you're watching the simulcast on Facebook or on YouTube. If it is YouTube where you're watching, then please subscribe to the channel. Become a part of the over 40,000, near on 41,000 now, who are subscribers to the show. Help me reach my goal of 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. With that being said, we also have a website. Find us please at bigdaddyliberty.com. There, of course, you can also pledge some financial support to the show. You can contribute, that's right. Anything between 50 to 100 Rand a month. The average is about 75 Rand per month. It really goes a long way to supporting our work. Now, with that jibber jabber out the way, it is a jam-packed Monday. Let's get straight into the news. All right, now we do a bit of a follow-up on the ongoing saga that is Eskom, and indeed it's now departed former CEO Andre de Ruyter. Now, with this being said, there's two things I want to remind you of. Guys, the crisis at Eskom is getting worse. Do not think that now that Andre de Ruyter is gone and there's a new CEO and all the politicians are pretending as if they're doing something, that somehow is going to save you. Eskom is collapsing. Don't take my word from it. Andre de Ruyter, before leaving as Eskom CEO, had met with the Premier of the Western Cape, Alan Winde, and in that meeting, he basically said as much, that the Western Cape, he advised, should be as independent as possible from Eskom, because as hulle say in Afrikaans, hier kom 'n ding. For those who might not be initiated in Afrikaans, de Ruyter warning, of course, in English, that absolute tough times are coming and that the Western Cape should effectively make itself as independent as possible of Eskom. Now, I'm going to read very quickly from this News 24 piece that detailed this. Before I do that, I actually want to give you a sense of just how bad things are. Eskom itself right now is developing a new protocol for deeper load shedding schedules. You know, you obviously know that load shedding stages end at level 1 to level 8, with 8 basically being 12 to 14 hours of no electricity per day. Eskom, that same Eskom, clearly doesn't see itself improving and is now developing a load shedding protocol that goes up to stage 16. Yes, you heard me right. From 8 to effectively doubling it to now 16 stages of load shedding. There's an article on that which you can read, but that's not what I wanted to focus on here. I wanted to take a step back and go to that warning that the former CEO of Eskom gave to the Premier of the Western Cape in a News 24 piece where he detailed as follows. Now, Winde, that's the Premier, met with Eskom's former CEO Andre de Ruyter shortly after he tendered his resignation in December to seek advice on how the province should approach energy provision. This is where it gets really scary. He said, "You've got to become independent as quickly as possible," Winde recalled. The outgoing CEO didn't provide much detail, but expressed that there's big trouble ahead and do what you can, the Premier said. End of quote. Now, I want to come back to this story in a second, but effectively, if you listen to that warning that de Ruyter gave to the Premier of the Western Cape, you can then understand why subsequently news of there being an extra 8 stages, up to stage 16 of load shedding, is how that big mess and big trouble is effectively coming ahead. Again, I mentioned this in episode 120 of Vuka Nazo, where I said, prepare yourself. No one is coming to save you and nothing is going to get better. Take the plunge now. Get yourself a generator. Get yourself alternative lights that have batteries in them that can at least keep the lights on. If you've got the money, get yourself a solar panel and the inverter, the whole works and the whole shebang. If you don't have the money for any of this, band together as neighbors and pool your resources to provide some sort of basic backup for you guys. There are options for you. Do not be despondent, but also do not believe politicians are coming to save you. Indeed, this is the mentality after that meeting that the Western Cape Premier has now himself adopted, where that same article saying that the Western Cape has taken some action. This is some of the action they've taken. Now, the Western Cape aims to add as much as 750 megawatts of supply by 2025 and to reach 5,700 megawatts by 2035. Premier Alan Winde, a member of the DA, said in an interview at Bloomberg's Cape Town office on Wednesday, now that should be sufficient to meet demand as the provincial economy expands. End of quote. This is what leadership looks like. The Western Cape and indeed also the city of Cape Town under its mayor, Jordan Hill-Lewis, have been saying for a very long time that they are looking to make themselves as independent as possible from the failures of national government. Let me take a moment here and remind a certain douchebag of a president. Yes, President Cyril Ramaphosa, I meant you, as when I talk about national government and the failure to produce electricity, even though you're in denial of that. Anyway, I'm back. And let me conclude here. No one is coming to save you. You have to, as I've said just now, prepare yourself for the worst, because it isn't just about a complete blackout and electricity being out for a few days or even weeks, but also the anarchy, the social breakdown of law and order that happens when there is no electricity and the grid collapses. It's not funny, it's not a joke, I'm not using hyperbole. There is something very sinister brewing here, and the current political elites, the ANC, who profit off of this situation. That's right, you heard me right. They profit off of the situation, is not going to be the ones who actually come to your aid, especially when they profit from the current chaos. All right, from one form of chaos at Megawatt Park, that's Eskom's headquarters, to another chaotic scene indeed, this time at the University of Wits in Johannesburg, where the students, led by their SRC, embarked on a campaign of wanton destruction in that part of the world. We broke the story down in yesterday's Liberty and Friends. There's the thumbnail to that. Make sure you watch Liberty and Friends, where we provide solid analysis with the Friends panel. We looked at the issue of this generation, or this insistence by young people that getting their way means destroying everything. It is a toxic ideology, one which was sadly entertained during the Fees Must Fall protests. If you remember those riots and protests by students across the country, where effectively the state gave in to the wanton destruction and destructive behavior of so-called student leaders. The same student leaders who, after they left a trail of destruction, then were promoted into parliament. Nice gig that, if you can get it. But nonetheless, this generation of students at Wits, also seemingly inspired by that wanton destructive behavior of Fees Must Fall, have done exactly that. Watch this.
One student, one professor, one student.
Nobody's chilling. Nobody's chilling. He's chilling. He's chilling there. He's waiting. He's just standing waiting.
Yes, you can see again the absolute chaos, destruction, intimidation of not only other students, but also workers in the city center of Johannesburg. Absolute destruction of public property, shared spaces that they will still need after their little campaign in this regard. Now, again, this time it seems to be, maybe it's early days, but it does seem to be that there are repercussions for this behavior. I'm going to read from this Times Live piece, which details how the Wits University has responded by suspending some of the troublemaker students. Now, Wits University has suspended disruptors who transgressed the university's rules during ongoing protests at the institution. It said in a statement released on Thursday last week. It's quoted as having said, "This afternoon we issued multiple suspension orders to disruptors who transgressed the university's rules. The legal office will continue to work through the evidence submitted by the Wits community to ensure perpetrators who can be identified are charged." End of quote. Now again, this is a very good start. Unfortunately, universities sometimes do sort of come out with a tough stance and then after a while sort of give in to the demands of students. Will that happen again this time? Who knows? But one thing is absolutely clear. The culture of destroying everything around you because you are looking to win something or get something is absolutely toxic. It is a political culture in this country which has to be disavowed and we need to walk away from as a country. This should be a country of builders, people who build this nation and build this economy, not people who relish the idea of disrupting and destroying the lives and livelihoods of people around them because their entitled asses are looking to get their fair share of media attention or whatever other attention, political attention, and maybe a plush parliamentary job later in life. It's absolutely unacceptable, and it saddens me that at some stage I ever thought that this kind of thing is justifiable, especially during the fees must fall days. This behavior actually should be condemned as widely as possible. All right, in my final story for today, a rare win against corruption in this country. Now, the Special Investigating Unit, that wonderful organization that is doing God's work in this country in terms of fighting back against corruption, graft, and all sorts of other wrongdoing, is registering a few wins in terms of recovering funds from wrongdoers, that is, those who are corrupt and who are caught out to be corrupt. And on the particular issue of the National Lotteries Commission. Now, we've had this conversation before. You guys know I've covered this before. Quick reminder there to episode 43 of Vuka Nazo, where I showed you as much as the billions that are missing and disappearing from that particular commission. Now, of course, we're finding out that various stars are involved in the looting of this particular commission. Terry Pheto, who of course you'll know, the Oscar-winning actress in this country who was one of the co-stars of the movie Tsotsi a while back. Very ironic that Tsotsi being criminal in Zulu. Effectively being caught out here by the SIU, allegedly as herself being a Tsotsi, having bought a home, a multi-billion rand mansion. You can just see there looking absolutely wonderful, that wonderful house. Here's the problem. It was built, of course, by stolen monies from the Lotteries Commission. Now, the SIU has effectively, as I mentioned, seized this property and is attempting to auction it off in order to recover the funds of the alleged theft. Let me read from this independent online piece which detailed how, sadly for them, that's the SIU, the auction didn't go as planned, but nonetheless they'll probably still try and auction it off. Now, the article says there was no successful offer made at the auction of the lavish Joburg house of award-winning actress Terry Pheto after the Special Investigating Unit placed it under the hammer to recoup funds obtained fraudulently. Now, the Bryanston property is reported to be worth around 5 million rand. However, on Thursday, no bid over the starting bid of 3 million rand was made amongst the 28 registered bidders. End of quote. Now, of course, this is super disappointing for the SIU, but trust you me, if there's one state organ which I actually do respect, it is the Special Investigating Unit. Their ability to really not only go after the fraudulent individuals, corrupt individuals, but also to recover funds is actually nearly unmatched. They'll probably try once again. And this is how good they are also at communicating their work to the public. Have a look at this graph, or this graphic rather, by the SIU, basically detailing to the public the trail of corruption or fraud, if you will, that was involved in this particular matter, holding back no punches in also detailing just how extensive the theft was. Again, I'm not going to go over this because of time, but I'm going to put it up on screen for you so you can pause it a bit later and see just how extensive this involved. I mean, this is over 20 million rands worth of alleged fraud having happened here. Anyway, as I said, if I just wanted to end this particular segment with a bit of a good news story insofar as saying it's not all doom and gloom. There are committed law enforcement officials in this country who are looking to go after criminals without fear or favor, whether you're a famous movie star or a senior ranking politician, or even if you are a criminal syndicate involved in siphoning coal or other resources from Eskom or any other SOE, such as I brought you in episode 57 of Vuka Nazo, just as a reminder of how the SIU is also getting itself involved in dealing with the corruption at Eskom. But nonetheless, this is a state organ, or at least an investigative law enforcement arm, that is doing excellent work. All right, that's it from this episode of Vuka Nazo, the Monday edition of the show. Let me know what you think about the stories, of course. Give me your feedback in the comment section. It's always appreciated. With that being said, if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, a reminder, hit that like button and please share the stream. Find us, of course, also on our website at BigDaddyLiberty.com. With that being said, thank you for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow, bright and early from 7 a.m. on Vuka Nazo.